Hello and welcome to the Rocky Sports Talk Sheet, everybody. Uh, we have quite a few things to talk about today. Some is just kind of outrageous, I do have to say. We do have some sad news in the sports world today. We do have great news for one team, after yesterday, Milwaukee Bucks win the first 50 years in Milwaukee. Um, Sad news there is it, CP3 and the Suns. They lost four straight after having a 2-0 lead in the finals. Um, we have some crazy news. What I believe is crazy news. We have here's a question I'm going to give y'all: a 64 team college football playoff. There's a college football coach that believes so. He believes it's a good idea. Now, why? I have no idea. He thinks that there should be 64 team playoff. Now that idea isn't it's bad. In my opinion, it would be bad, but it's not too far off. Like like people think it should be. Now, first I want to address some bad news that we found out. I don't know. Some of y'all may not remember, this coach. Uh, he he coached the Seminoles, the Florida State Seminoles, for 34 seasons before retiring in 2009. I'm gonna read something here because, like I said, it's sad, but it's also it like by his own words, I can understand because his age and everything that he's accomplished in his life up to this point, I would be at peace. I would probably feel the same way if I was in his shoes. I would feel at peace with it. Hall of Fame college football coach Bobby Bowden has been diagnosed with a medical condition. He and his family announced, "I've always tried to serve God's purpose for my life, on and off the field, and I am prepared for what is to come." Bowden said in a statement released by Florida State, "My wife Ann and our family have been life's greatest blessing. I am at peace." That's that's just it's touching, and you know a lot of people wouldn't think that way, but for him, he got to do what he loved for over 34 years. He's 91 years old. He definitely lived a long life at being 91 years old, and very much sounds like a Christian or a religious man, and believes in God and God's purpose and everything for him and everybody else in the world. And it's just like, I believe it whenever he said him and his family is totally at peace because, I bet since 2009 for the last 12 plus years, I bet he's loved and enjoyed his retirement. I bet his family has loved him being home, and then his coaching and all that. I bet they've been able to do a lot of good things since he retired. I will say he's one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. I mean, his Florida State teams were the cream of the crop. Let me tell you, his Florida State teams were the cream of the crop. Now, before retiring in '09, he was the second winningest coach in Division One history with 357 victories. 357. Um, he won the national championships in 1993 and 1999. He, in my opinion, he built a dynasty down there. And honestly, the Florida State football team has not been the same by any stretch of the imagination. I don't believe. I don't believe they've been the same since he left. Now they have a good head coach now. I know they've been, I know they've been, there, but it's not the Florida State teams of the last decade are nowhere near on par. And to me, in my opinion, or as talented and as well coached as those Florida State teams about. I mean, just no, they're no, not my book. I mean, he had some amazing teams. I remember being a kid and watching Florida versus Florida State. I remember the Miami Hurricanes. I remember, dude, Florida State was always in the top 10. Always. I mean, it was such a crazy. Let me put it in perspective how good they were. I I'm from southern Indiana, but whenever this happened at the time, I lived in Louisville, and whenever the Louisville Cardinals upset the, trying to remember what year it was. I was young; it was like 20 years ago. But Louisville Cardinals, they just, I think they hadn't had the Louisville Cardinals Papa John Stadium that long, not that long, and they upset Penn State or Florida State, and they treated it like they just won a Super Bowl. The city of Louisville, all the way to southern Indiana, where I lived in like Clarksville, New Albany, like it was a story for the longest time. Like just couldn't believe it. I mean, that's how much respect Bowden and his his team had at Florida State. Like they just knew that like that's probably one of the biggest wins of you know ever for that school for Louisville. Um, I believe Florida State was ranked number one at the time, or in the top three. But my point is that I wish nothing but the best for Coach Bowden. I know he's a former coach, but man, that dude deserves the right to have the title and lay claim to the title, Coach Bowden. Uh, great, great coach. Great for the game of college football. I don't think you know Mike Leach said it best. I don't think college football would have been the same if Coach Bowden wasn't there, and that's a fact. Coach Bowden changed a lot about the game just by his coaching. He changed the game of college football. He helped make it what it is today. Um, so, you know, I feel really bad about, the diagnosis um, for Coach Bowden, but you have your head on exactly where it needs to be, in my opinion. And I wish you nothing but the best. And you've had a amazing 91 years so far of life. So I hope that you can give us a little bit. I hope that you you and your family have a little bit more time together. But just you, you and it seems like you and your God and everything have, you all have a plan for one another. So, um, God bless. Um, God bless you and your family. And I hope that you all get through this together. And I'm really sorry to hear about that. But much love and respect to Coach Bowden. In other news, like I said, this is where we're going to get on this other idea that Mike Leach also, the head coach for the Mississippi State there in SEC country, um, thinks that there should be a 64 teams in the college football playoffs. I didn't say it. Definitely a lot of people wasn't thinking it. And he thinks that it's just 12, 60, it's just too small. 64, just get it over with and just make it a 64. make it March Madness of college football. No. That's way too many teams in my opinion. Way too many teams in my opinion. I would say the highest I would go is half of that. Half. 32 as the highest. But there's got to be stipulations for those 32. You got to have a lot of these. You got to give a lot of these colleges and these teams that keep being missed on year after year, decade after decade after decade. They go undefeated or lose one game, and you could tell they can play with the top, the best of the best. I'm talking about. Let's go years back. Remember the Boise State? They upset Oklahoma. Y'all remember that? Uh, TCU had some teams. Let's give it out to let's give some more respect for we had Washington had some years there. Cincinnati last year. How about Indiana last year? People forget. I'm from Indiana. Let me tell you, we were sad and furious last year for Indiana and how the Big Ten did them wrong, how NCAA did them no justice. Like there needs to be some rules because it's like even last year, and this is why I said Indiana fans were furious with NCAA. I mean, the top 12 teams, whenever it comes time for you know for the college football playoffs or for bowl games, Indiana got left out of the New Year's Six bowls, and they were ranked number 12 at the time. Now, yes, I understand. You can't just say, "Oh, you lost one key player on your team. We're going to disqualify your whole team from being in there. We don't think you're that good." You can't assume that. One game, anything can happen. I don't appreciate that. A lot of us did not appreciate that. And Indiana played a hell of a good bowl game. Yes, did they lose last year? Yes, they did. We did have our backup quarterback, but it was a good game still. I was entertained by it. Could they have won one of those New Year's Six bowls? We'll never know. But there's got to be rules. Like there's got to if there was teams, there has to be like set in stone. I don't no excuses. I just don't trust the NCAA for a whole lot of reasons. They're the greediest organization in all of America, in my opinion. They profit off these young guys and then try to control every aspect of their life. It feels like once they become a student athlete, as they put it. College does come first, but if these schools are recruiting these players and bringing them in, and they're putting their bodies on the line, especially in football, you're putting your body on the line. You're putting your health on the line. The NCAA could do so much better to these men and women in some of these sports than they do. They treat them like dogs. And that's just my opinion, but I'm sticking with it. They truly, in my opinion, treat them like fucking dogs. And I've had enough. I don't understand why too many people have not been calling out the NCAA and demanding them be different and change their ways as an organization. Parents of these student athletes, everybody. I don't know why people haven't gone to the building and protested against them. Because in a lot of ways, they've done so many, you know, hell, Hall of Fame style athletes wrong. They've done so many of them wrong. And they've got away with it. They've gotten away from it from the government. Now, yes, the government has been recently fight back, but they got away with it for numerous decades. Okay, now you could say, yeah, give government their props now for kind of hammering down on the NCAA recently, but also in that same breath, I would say, what took y'all so fucking long? Like seriously, where the fuck have you all been for these past decades? Because what they're doing now, they should have done fucking decades ago. I don't like it. I just don't. A lot of these athletes come from poor neighborhoods. I'm from, you know, I lived in the projects and stuff like that. I know what it's like to not have what rich folk and these rich college kids have, and these rich parents of these college kids. I understand the hardship and not having anything, and your family struggling to have food on the table every week and rent paid every week and bills paid. I understand that struggle. The NCAA should understand that as well, but they fucking don't. Why? Because they're making billions of dollars. They're making all this money that they get to pocket. Why the fuck would they want to? So they got away with it and they're going to continue to get away with every bit of what they can until the government fully gets them. They're going to pocket as much. And that's the sad truth. But another thing that they need to do, especially in college football. Now, basketball, they got to figure it out. And boy, they got like 60, 68. Yeah, 68 teams now. You can't make the top 68. Don't come crying, Wolf. Do not come crying, Wolf. You can't make a 68 team tournament. Do not cry, Wolf. Yeah, there was years where, I'm an IU and Louisville fan of college basketball. There were years where I was like, yeah, Indiana could have made it, but dude, you also choked some games, and it's your fault. You also lost to teams you definitely should have beat. It's your fault. You can definitely understand why they didn't make it. Some of those years, in my opinion. And it's just, but college football, they've had that fucked up for a while. I would, I would, I seriously would maybe do 32, but I'd have to put in some of these smaller schools. Give all these other schools chances that have been denied. decade after decade after decade that I truly believe could have competed and maybe could have upset some teams in the college football playoffs. Like, I don't know what Cincinnati could have done last year. None of us will know. But I think that they could have maybe beat one of those top four. I I also my biggest beef is my team was ranked 12th. They missed a New Year's Six bowl, but yet Florida State loses like 2 or 3 games in a row and stayed and got a New Year's Six bowl ahead of Indiana, who lost one game. There's such a discrepancy, and the reason why it's so big for me and why I keep bringing up Indiana. When's the last time Indiana's been remotely a good football team? I've been a fan of them. I support my team, and it's like the one year where Indiana really had a great defense, a dominating defense. Everybody, like if y'all don't realize how good Indiana's defense was last year, you can go ask some quarterbacks. Why don't you go ask Chicago Bears first round pick in this year's NFL draft what it was like to play Indiana's defense last year, because he had his worst college game in his career against Indiana. I mean, he didn't even touch 200 yards passing, and he threw 3 picks against them. Like, if it wasn't for his running back, they would have lost flat out to Indiana, and they still only won by 7. Like, Indiana was legit last year, folks. They really were. They and it wasn't their offense. Usually, they do have a pretty good offense. Last year, it was that defense was legit, caused chaos. Um, but yeah, I would have made it where teams like Cincinnati, teams like Indiana, all these teams that got left out last year or of even being in the discussion. Um, Teams like NCAA who allow Big Ten to set a regular season rule before the season started, COVID rule. You have to play a minimum of 6 games in your conference, or no, it was a certain amount of games. I don't know if it was 6. I can't remember exactly how many games, but anyways, my point is, but they didn't even qualify to be in the Big Ten title game last year. Uh, they missed it by a game, and what happens? Big Ten just says, we're going to change the rule right before the Big Ten championship game. Indiana, you no longer get to go, and Ohio State, you get to go. I don't. It's corrupt. It's all about money, and these smaller teams that don't have as big of a following in certain sports, they could give a fuck less because they're going to go where the money is, not where the loyalty is, and where the hard work is. And that's some of the biggest tragedy about the NCAA and college sports in general. I I just hate the hypocrisy. I'm almost at the point. A lot of people already told me they're done with NCAA and college sports. They're not tuning in anymore. They don't even pay attention to it because they see the 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 hypocrisy that is college sports, and a lot of these commissioners and leagues, they don't support it. Well, they don't support it now. And to get on something else, in good news, well, hold on. Let me refer back to that. Now, 32 teams left the college football playoffs. I would make it all of your conference winners automatic bids. I'd have, you know, you can set it up with, I don't know how many would be left, but I would say probably what, like, you'd have like 16 um, non conference winner bids or something like that, and maybe more. I'd use some rankings. I'd use, you know, the strength of schedule. That would still have to come into effect because teams, they play a boatload of ranked teams. You know, I can't argue against that. You can't argue really against that. But I'm talking about the MAC can be in it. The winner of the MAC, they get a shot. I mean, all these different conferences get a shot. Conference USA winner, you get a shot. Like everybody. Big Ten, you get a shot. ACC, you get a shot. SEC, you get a shot. Like, you got your big and small schools, you get a shot. So I would actually be inclined with the 32. Maybe make it a 10 game. Maybe lower, you know, take a couple of regular season games away. Make it a 10 games season for college football. And then do a 32 uh, college football playoff. That's what I do. And then the other 32 teams, outside of those 32, you can still do some of your, I mean, with basically what you're doing is you can take like, we got a lot of bowl games every year. If y'all not realize, count how many bowl games there are. You could do something like that. Like, keep all the bowl games and just make it a tournament using the bowl games. Just seed them. You know, just make all the bowl games like a certain seed. Now, I'm about to look up because I don't know exactly how many, but I know there's a lot of bowl games. Like, let's say, let's look up college football. There's so many of them. They keep coming out with some new ones and renaming stuff, and college football bowl games. Let's look this up. See how many they had last year. Let's just go back to 2020. All right, let's count how many bowl games we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, yeah, we got way too many bowl games. I wouldn't do that. That'd be way too many teams. That would maybe be 64 teams. Um, nah, nah. There's just no way. There's way too many bowl games. Way too many bowl games. I mean, what you could do is continue to have some of those bowl games, but like the top 16 bowls, turn it into the tournament. And then, like, oh my God, there's so many. There is so many bowl games, people. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Okay, so you use, of course, you're going to use the New Year's Six bowl games. Those are going to be, your top six. So basically, your top 12 teams. Uh, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. You got like 36 total. You got 36 bowl games. Technically, that's 72, 72 teams there. I mean, take your top 32, make bowl games, use your top bowl games for the top 32, and then keep the rest of the bowl games. You can still have other teams that didn't make it, still do bowl games. That's what I do if I was them. Just do that. End of discussion. Be done with it. Just be done with it. And while get it to the point where from the moment that these, let's say, these bowl games start, all the way to they end at the national championship game, just make it kind of fit in that tournament from the start to the end, like they normally do every year. I mean, hell, you can fit in, start it off with do some of the bowl games before the tournament, and then finish off the, you know, people that didn't make the 32 teams. Started off with them in their bowl games after the regular season ends, and then do the 32 team tournament, and then just end it that way. That's one way you could go. If you don't think that you're going to make a lot of money, you're going to make at least probably the same, if not even more, or double if you did that. I truly believe that. You could do it like you could have two brackets. You have two sides. You have 1 versus 16 on this side, 1 through 16, and then a 1 through 16. I mean, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, I just they got to do something, but that's what I would have done. Uh, I do hope this year that Indiana has another season like last year. I doubt that they'll only lose one, or they lost the bowl game, so they only lost 2 for the whole season. I doubt that's going to happen, but I am still going to root for Louisville and Indiana. Um, I just, yeah, hopefully, our quarterback is good and that defense is still dominant. Now, we are going to end today with probably the best news in the sports world today, and that's the Bucks. Giannis had like 15 rebounds, 50 points. He went 17 and 19 from the free throw line. Uh, They won by 7 yesterday, Game 6, to win the championship and to win 4 straight in the NBA Finals after dropping the first 2. He was the unanimous MVP, Finals MVP. Um, and honestly, the real question I have here, and I kind of thought it watching it, Giannis probably did, and it's probably true, and I'm not going to argue it really. Giannis probably had the best closing game in an NBA Finals in history. The way that he dominated and put that team on his back at home yesterday in Game 6 to clinch the title was nothing short of spectacularly amazing. And he was big time yesterday. Drew Holiday went 1 for 11 just in the first half yesterday. A lot of them were struggling. If it wasn't for Giannis, and hell, don't forget his 5 blocks, people. He showed up on defense too. Showed up on defense. Showed up at the line almost at 90% from the line. 50 burger. What I mean by that, 50 points. It was just amazing. The only person, Bobby Pettit, way back in the day, was the only other one to have 50, and the finals clincher. But Giannis is better by far in my book. He willed his team and put that franchise on his back last night. And down the stretch, did not care. You would think, get it out of my hands. I don't want to go to the free throw. Nope, I'm winning it. I'm not going to be scared or stray away from the moment. I am taking us home. And he did. And his comments after he won, I loved it. Fucking loved it. Calling out the super teams. Love it. I grew up a Jordan Bulls fan. They didn't really build a super team. They drafted a super team. And added free agents and stuff. They got Jordan. Then Pippen. Then they built around that core. The Bulls were dominant in the 90s. But mainly they drafted that way. And teams made, trades that they shouldn't have made. The Dennis Rodman trade from the Spurs to the Bulls. That's on the Spurs. I mean, that was a dumb trade. It's just, and man, the net. I think he was talking about the Nets, definitely. Whenever they built their Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, I think he was talking about LeBron's Heat teams. You could even throw in the Cavs teams. You can't throw in Golden State other than whenever KD came. But hell, they won chips before KD even came to Golden State. But they drafted those guys and they molded those guys and they built that team. You can't call Golden State out fully. Only time is whenever KD signed with them. Yeah, I mean that's also not on Golden State. If he chose to sign there and take a little bit less to win chips, then what's Golden State going to say? No, we don't want you. Yeah, right. But there's a lot of teams. He does bring up a good fact. bringing loyalty to a fan base and a franchise that shows loyalty to you is the way to go. And that's the way he wants to go. And he said it right. He said it pretty much the best way you possibly can. He's like, I could have went to Izzy route. I could have joined the super team. I could have left. But I chose to stay and do it the hard way. And I have nothing but respect for Giannis in his comments. Because, yeah, it was the hard way. He could have went, dude. He could have not signed an extension. And he could have went somewhere and made a team instantly title winners. I mean, let's think about teams. Think about teams he could have went to and just think about the squads that would have been there. It's, yeah, it's just, I hate the NBA today. I miss the 90s and the early 2000s. Teams that wanted to compete and earn their chips. Like, I'm a Bulls and Kobe's fan, so obviously Bulls, Lakers. Even though, they traded for Kobe in the draft. They had Shaq. They built a team. But they also, they went up against the Spurs and the best Kings teams. And I mean, hell, there was some good, Timberwolf teams. There was a lot of good teams in the West End. There was a lot of competition. A lot of competition. The Knicks were competition for the Bulls. I mean, you still had the Showtime Lakers in the finals. You still had, the Trailblazers. You still had, I mean, there's so many teams that just, man, they built their teams and they were highly competitive and it made it fun instead of let's go buddy up and win and just say, fuck the league. We're going to just run it. That's why I don't watch a lot of NBA. I do not watch a lot of NBA anymore. I haven't for years. And that's the main reason. It's kind of what Giannis said. That's why I love it so much what he said afterwards. It's one thing to get paid all this money and to be a big name superstar for the league and for your teams. It's another thing to not have loyalty to a team that builds around you and gives you a lot of what you need and babies you just to have you turn your back and try to find an easy way out. That is today's society as a whole. Even these spoiled NBA players do the same thing today, as society does. They want everything handed to them on a silver platter. They want everything handed to them. They want that championship the easiest way possible. They don't want to have to grind super hard. You think Jordan was handed those titles? Hell no. He had to grind, and he had to bulk up, and he had to fail first before he even got to that point where he took the league by storm. But he did it staying at Chicago until, he left at the end and then came back with the Wizards there for that one year. But loyalty matters. Should matter. But does it to today's NBA? Fuck, no, it does not. And the commissioner doesn't know what to do. The commissioner ain't really got control over his league or players. It's just a fucking joke. Everybody can just say, I want to be traded, and every team fucking trades them. They cave like a kid in a candy store. I'm going to tell you what. Let me be an owner of like an NFL, NBA, or any league like that. Let me tell you what, if I'm paying you hundreds of millions of dollars and I've paid you and I've given you everything you wanted and then you said you want to be traded, I'm gonna tell you what, you're gonna come, I'm gonna call you into my office, I'm gonna say, look, you're acting like we ain't done shit for you and we ain't done good by you, and you're a fucking damn lying. And I'm gonna tell you what, the NBA needs to have this league too. You signed a contract. Every year, if you want to not play, that's cool. We're going to take your pay, and even if you sit out a year, that doesn't take away a year from the contract that you just signed, buddy. If you have 4 years left, guess what? You're going to have to sit. You can sit out 4 straight years. Try to come back and think it's gone. Hell, you still got 4 years with my team. Nah, I wouldn't baby these little fuckers. That's what I hate about these owners, these GMs, the commissioners in these leagues. Hey, these players don't complain with their contracts whenever they get that big money. But when the goings gets tough, they want a bell. But they still want their money. No, it don't work that way. Don't work that way. And your commissioner and these coaches and these owners and GMs need to get together and fucking put a stop to it. I don't give a fuck if it's the best player or these other teams are going to get the best players. You just need to put a stop to the trend. Be like, it's not happening no more. Have all the teams on the same page. It's done. This is done. You want to demand a trade? End your contract. That's it. I can understand that, you could tell that the player is probably going to leave a year before their contract's up. I can understand those teams because then they can get a little something for a team that's thinking they can win a championship. They're just one piece away, and they'll give you a little bit in return. Because that I understand. But with players with these 3 years, 4 years left on their deal, kind of bullshit, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Like, no. In certain cases, I can understand. But in a lot of these, no, I don't understand. So, yeah, just be honest, like, did amazing. Kudos to you guys. They also, a lot of people are saying that CP3 choked in the playoffs again. I'm going to put it on the record. CP3 had an amazing postseason. He had an amazing playoff run. He did have a few bad games. But also, did we forget? I had COVID last year, and it does change your body. It changes your body in a lot of different ways. Now, that one game where he had numerous turnovers, I think it was like game four. Or yeah, I believe it was game 4 in the finals. That was a bad game. That was CP3. That was on CP3. That game, he had a lot of unforced turnovers. Can't fault him. But everybody needs to stop dogging Chris Paul. He had an amazing playoff run. He also contributed in games to get you all to these finals and clinch series, help y'all clinch series to get you all to this finals. Without Chris Paul, the Suns would not be in the finals. Remember that, people. There's no way in hell without Chris Paul they were going to the NBA finals. No way in hell. So for everybody to dog on Chris Paul after they lose a tough series to a very tough Milwaukee Bucks team, those were two great teams that met in the finals. One of them had to lose, one of them was going to win. hats off to Chris Paul. Is where I'm at. Hats off to the season and the turnaround that he just gave the Suns. I mean, Suns fans, go to your last 4 or 5 years, just the last 4 or 5 years. You should not be crucifying Chris Paul. You should be thanking the fuck out of Chris Paul. You guys weren't in playoffs for a while before he came. He doesn't just take you on to the playoffs, he takes you to the championship. Show that man some appreciation and loyalty. Just because he didn't deliver the championship, he still played his heart out. He played tough. And he didn't play as bad as everybody thinks. He didn't. And I don't know where the Suns are going to be next year, but I mean, I think CP3 should stay because in this playoff, Ayton got better. Get some more pieces on the team. You know, see what you do through drafts, free agency, stuff like that. But you got a team that can contend again next year. Just add you a few pieces, and I would roll with this team. I would roll with CP3 and Booker and Ayton, and I would just put few players around them. Maybe upgrade the bench a little bit more. And I'm telling you, don't blow this thing up. Give at least Chris Paul another year. Give him next year. Give him another chance. But no, everybody should be praising the year and what Chris Paul did this year for the Suns. And not calling him out again and saying again he choked again in the playoffs. Stop disrespecting that man. Put some respect on his name. That is a very smart, very great, high IQ point guard. Top 5 all-time point guard, in my opinion, in the league. Not all the greats win championships. But he just took you all 2 games away from it. When's the last time y'all been into the NBA Finals there, Suns fans? It ain't been since Jordan beat the Suns. That's the last time. Charles Barkley. Was the MVP. Y'all ain't been to the finals since Charles Barkley won the regular season MVP. So, all these fans calling him out and stuff like that, I think you all need to shut your mouth. Because if y'all didn't have him, there's no way in fucking hell you all go as far as y'all went. And maybe not even make the playoffs. I don't know. So, no, I'm not going to be a part of that trend of bashing CP3. I'm not going to be a part of it one bit. I think that dude had an amazing season. He was one of my top 5 MVP candidates for the year, regular season MVPs. No, you put some respect on that man and what he did for the Suns organization and for the NBA. So that's where I'm at on that. That is basically all I got for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully y'all like the episode. If y'all want to, y'all catch me out. I do have Twitch and on Twitter. You can hit me up on Twitter at Rocky Sports, ROCKEY Sports, 2 words there. And on Twitch, you can follow me on Twitch, Rocky Sports Talk Sheet, all one word, all lowercase. Same name as this YouTube channel. So that is my Twitch and my Twitter. Also, please subscribe and like the videos. And please feel free to check out all the other videos on this page. Thank you all for being loyal, and thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. That's my take on today's sports news. Till next time, peace out, everybody.